how did your brand come into play, and when did you start that, and how does that relate to your vision that you so value?
Hmm. Well, it's been a journey, a development. So I think the fundamentals that I've always wanted to achieve remain the same. But uh, when I left the Marines, I set up Phoenix Obsidian, and then Phoenix Obsidian morphed into Serenity and Leadership, and Serenity and Leadership now is giving birth to rewilding the corporate mind. So it has been this journey that things are they're in tune with each other, but it has been a development. So Phoenix Obsidian was really picturing the phoenix, this beautiful bird that lives for 500 years, and it was about come fly with me, fly on my back, see how things are uh, uh, from a wide perspective. And obsidian is volcanic glass, so it was about bringing healing into business, really. Serenity and Leadership took that sort of idea and then said, well, what kind of state do we need to be in as things are increasingly changing? And that was really finding a place of serenity within, so that whatever's going on around you, you have a grounded approach where you are aware of your own process, and you're not sort of totally knocked off your game all the time by all the different things that are happening around you. And
Thank you.
now, sorry, go on.
Go ahead. So how how does that how was that journey like when you started that brand, and how long ago was that?
Well, Phoenix Obsidian was born in 1994,
Yeah.
and Serenity and Leadership came out of some work I was doing in India, and that was in 2016. Yeah. So Serenity, as I say, it's been a development journey, but for me, there's a huge amount of congruence in the thinking behind those different sort of envelopes, if you like.
Yeah. And what lessons did you learn in being an entrepreneur in both the brands? I would say I bet you've learned a lot. Um, I I think our audience really appreciates the good, bad, and the ugly of entrepreneurship. So when you were trying to create that brand or creating the brand and running with it, what are some of the most significant lessons that you learned throughout that journey?
Well, I think the major thing is, how much do you believe in your own brand? Phoenix Obsidian was a kind of weird name for most people. A lot of people who go into consultancy, they just use their own surname. Joe Bloggs and Co., Fred Smith and Co., and Associates, and that was never my way of looking at things. I wanted to see. I wanted to sort of represent what was deep inside me, and for some people, that was kind of a bit too wacky. But I think really the point was, well, if I'm too wacky for you, then you're not ready for what I'm going to bring. So one of the learnings was to have confidence and faith in what I was presenting, and it would resonate with the right people, and we could do the right kind of work together. Um, and I think to a lesser extent we have the same with Serenity and Leadership. because it's like, well, who the hell thinks that they should be serene when they're leading? You know, we all got to be macho and we're all big ego and we're all going out there and we're gonna win. Well, you know, life's a bit more complicated than that. And so I think taking a stand and saying, no, this is how this is what we stand for. This is what we believe in. If it's good for you, then come work with us because we can do amazing things. And if we're too wacky, then come back in a couple of years and see if we can fit then.
Tell me more about the name you chose, Serenity in Leadership, um, and switching from the Obsidian brand to Serenity in Leadership. What was that transition like, and why specifically did you choose that brand?
Well, as I say, it actually came out of a retreat that I did in India. It was a darkness retreat. I spent 7 days in darkness, and that sort of gave me some space to think and reflect. And I think that one of the things I came out with there was a greater sense of my own serenity. Uh, and I think one of the things that we reflected on during that period of darkness was the masculine and the feminine, and how as I saw it, the feminine is suppressed in both men and women, in business, well, in life, in society, in the West particularly. Um, Although probably in most societies. And I just felt like the feminine needs to come forward. It's not like we don't need the masculine. We need a functional masculine. We need a functional feminine. But people need to feel able to express themselves, their deeper selves, as opposed to feeling like part of me is not acceptable, so I've got to suppress it. So it's the opposite of serene when you're doing that, because you're using a lot of energy to not be your full self. And I thought, right, well, I want people to be their full selves, bring their full selves to work, and feel like they can really express themselves entirely. And in order to do that, it's much easier if you're coming from a congruent place of serenity within you. So I think that was the kind of thought process that went to creating serenity in leadership.
Thank you for sharing that with me. I really appreciate that. My next question for you, Tom, is if you could imagine serenity in leadership in the foreseeable future ahead, where do you see where do you see it going?
Where are you going with your vision? Well, the I've been writing a book for the last sort of 6 months, and it's nearly complete now. And the title of that book is Rewilding the Corporate Mind. And really, what I'm doing is developing the idea of how different estates around the world are saying, let nature take over, let nature be the leader, rather than having a structured approach to farming, where the earth has been overused to the extent that it's almost completely exhausted. And really, I then apply that principle to leadership, and the leadership that we need for the future, which is absolutely not the leadership that has got us to where we are today. And you can see around the world in various countries the death throes of the old systems of leadership, I mean, typically right now being lived out in the United States. Uh, and so what I'm saying is that the leadership for the future is completely different. And it's honoring where we've come from. It's honoring our own inner wisdom. It's honoring people. It's absolutely not this divide and rule. It's not about um, a kind of directive style which says, you do this. It's much more about seeing a situation as a whole system and acknowledging that we're not the leaders in this. We are part of the system. And then you're working with the system to bring about changes that really reflect the deeper movement that is taking place. So I don't know whether that sort of is really making it clear, but I think that so often in organizations, I see leaders say, there's the problem. Let's fix that problem. And what they do in fixing that problem is they sow the seeds of 3 more problems because they're not looking at the whole system. They're only focusing in on one thing. And I think it's really important that we understand we have got to look at the whole system, which means that we've got to reflect and we've got to look at the different aspects and how they make up the whole. And then all this fix it. What's the solution? Move on. Doesn't work. Life is much too complex and it's moving much too quickly. So we need people who honor the system, not try and break it or dictate to it, because it doesn't work.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.